boys and girls, and welcome to my channel. I am Miss Kim, and I have a wonderful story that takes place in Vermont. Nora is visiting her grandparents there, and we will go out with them and gather sap from the maple trees and see how they make maple syrup. Are you ready to begin? The name of this book is Sugaring by Jessie Haas, pictures by Yos A. Smith. Wow, look at that cold winter day. That's right, they use horses. Well, let's read to find out what they do. Gramps and Nora are gathering sap. Cold nights and sunny days, that's sugaring weather, says Gramp. 4 buckets hang on one big maple tree. Gramp takes a bucket down and pours the sap into Nora's pail. When he hangs the bucket back on the tree, sap drips into it. Tap, tap, tap. Gramp empties more buckets into his pails. Tap, tap, tap. Tap, tap, tap. Wow. The tapping noise is the sap falling into the buckets, isn't it? Come up, Gramp tells his horses, and they pull the big tank closer. Their hooves sink deep in the snow. Their breath makes a cloud. Sweat rolls from under Bonnie's collar and down Stella's nose. Whoa, Gramp says. He pours the sap into the tank. That's got a big bucket back here that he calls a tank. 1 pail, 2. Gramp waits while Nora drinks from the 3rd pail, and he drinks too. Sap tastes good like cold, sweet water. Can I give Bonnie and Stella a drink? Nora asks. They're working hard. Not from the pail, Gramp says. They'll want to stop at every tree. I need them to stop where I say. Yeah, you don't want to train them wrong, do you? Nora cups her hands. She dips some sap from the pail and she hurries to Bonnie and Stella. The sap drips out through her fingers. Bonnie and Stella lick with their big pink tongues, but they only get a tiny taste. It's hard to give sap to horses, Gramp says. Never mind, they'll get plenty of hay for lunch. That's what they've got to look forward to, huh? But they get hay all the time, Nora says. Sap is special. She's trying to give them a special treat, isn't she? When the sap is all gathered, Gramp drains it into a holding tank. After lunch, he starts a fire in the sugar house. Sap from the holding tank flows into a long pan and begins to boil. Gramp tells Nora horse stories. They feed the fire and sing songs. Oh, what fun! Slowly, the sap at the end of the pan turns brown. He's stoking the fire, right? He's putting more wood in. Look at all the wood. When it's almost dark out, Gramp goes to get more wood. He gives Nora a tin cup of cream. You know what to do, he says. I'll be right back. Nora stands on a heavy stump, high enough to see inside the pan. She watches the brown bubbles. Are they getting higher? All at once the bubbles lift. They almost boil over the top of the pan, but Nora is ready. What does she do? Well, let's see. She dips her finger into the cream and she flicks a tiny drop onto the bubbles. With a sigh, they whoosh back down. She's making sure it doesn't bubble over, isn't she? By flicking tiny drops of cream into the bubbles. There. I don't know if you can see the bubbles or not. Starting to bubble up. Yeah, right up here. The horse's hooves crunch the snow. Gramp drives them close to the sugar house. Whoa, he says, and hurries inside. It boiled up, Nora says. It's almost ready, Gramp says. He dips his scoop into the pan and holds it up to watch the drips. The horses puff outside the door. Couple more minutes. He dips and watches until the syrup slides off the scoop in one smooth sheet. Whoa, that's when it's done. Wow. That's a lot of hard work to get syrup, isn't it? All right, Gramp says. He opens a faucet on the side of the pan. Thick brown syrup pours into a kettle. At the other end of the pan, clear new sap flows in to replace it. Gramp shuts off the faucet. He puts some syrup in a glass and sets it in the snow to cool. Nora can hardly wait to taste it. Maple syrup is even more special than sap. When the syrup is cool enough, Gramp and Nora drink some. It's so sweet. They can only take little sips. Oh, that's good, Gramp says. Awesome. That's making me hungry. Yum. Bonnie and Stella watch through the door. Bonnie and Stella should get a taste, Nora says. They brought the sap in, and they brought the wood. She pours some sap into her hand. It's warm and sticky, and it dribbles through her fingers. Nora holds her hand onto Bonnie. Careful, Gramp says. Bonnie licks and licks. She licks maple syrup. She thinks maple syrup is special too. Suddenly, Nora feels Bonnie's teeth. Ow! She pulls her hand away. Okay? Gramp asks. Nora nods. Your hand was so sweet, she thought it was candy. Yeah, exactly. You have to be careful. At least don't keep your hand up there that long, huh? Stella points her ears. She wants syrup too, but Nora is afraid to give her any. Tell you what, Gramp says. Take this kettle of syrup to Gram and tell her we want something we can give a horse. She'll know what you mean. Oh, wow. Let's see. Gram puts the syrup on the stove, but she won't tell Nora what she's making. It'll be a surprise for you and the horses, she says. So Nora takes supper down to Gramp, and they keep on boiling long past Nora's bedtime. When they come back, the kettle of syrup is gone, and the kitchen smells sweet and mapley. Yum! Next morning after breakfast, Gram brings a brownie pan from the pantry. Don't look yet. She cuts something into squares. Then she gives a square to Nora. Maple sugar, Nora says. We don't make it often, Gram says. Maple sugar's special. But so are horses, says Nora. She bites off a piece and it tastes so good. It makes the back corners of her mouth water. She takes 2 more squares from the pan. Take one for Gramp too, Gram says. Wow, that's going to be a special treat. It's like a candy. Yum. See, she's nibbling on it right there. Bonnie and Stella are hitched to the sled. They point their ears at Nora. Nora holds her hands flat so her fingers are out of the way. That's a good idea, huh? Bonnie's and Stella's whiskers tickle, and their breath goes whoosh. Their long lips fumble up the sugar. Crunch, crunch, crunch. They nod their heads as they chew. Have you ever fed a horse? Oh, they love that, don't they? Yummy. Happy now? Gramps says. Yes, says Nora. She climbs up beside him. Gramp gives her the reins, and she gives him his piece of maple sugar. Then they drive out to the woods to get more sap. Wow! There they go again to get more sap and do the same thing all over again. Wow, it's a lot of work to get a little bit of maple sugar and syrup, isn't it? I am so glad you joined me today in this book, Sugaring. And I want you to remember that a good book and your imagination will take you anywhere. Until next time, bye.